My ex-wife showed up to our divorce, hearing pregnant. She thought it would secure her a payout, until the judge asked one question. I never thought my divorce hearing would turn into the most shocking moment of my life. But there she was, Rachel, my soon-to-be ex-wife, walking into the courtroom with a noticeable baby bump and a smug smile on her face. The air around me felt heavy, as if I had already lost something before the trial even started. Rachel had always been manipulative, but this was something else. I had filed for divorce months ago after discovering her year-long affair with another man. I still remember the night I found out I'd come home early from work, hoping to surprise her. Instead, I ended up being the one surprised when I saw her phone lighting up with messages from a name I didn't recognize. My gut told me to check, and what I found shattered me. Flirty texts, secret rendezvous, and even pictures of them together. When I confronted Rachel, she didn't deny it outright. Instead, she flipped the blame onto me, saying I had neglected her, that I had failed as a husband. It was laughable, really. She was the one who betrayed me, yet she wanted me to feel guilty. I wasted no time. I filed for divorce the very next day, determined to cut her out of my life for good. But now, here she was pregnant and acting like she held all the power. Her lawyer was already whispering something to her, probably telling her to play the sympathy card. Meanwhile, my own lawyer looked at me with concern, as if silently asking if I was prepared for this surprise attack. I wasn't, but I wasn't going to let Rachel win either. Then, the judge entered, and everyone fell silent. Rachel's smirk widened slightly, as if she believed she had already won. But the moment the hearing started, the judge asked one simple question that changed everything. Mrs. Rachel, who is the father of this child? And just like that, the color drained from her face. The moment the judge asked that question, Rachel froze. Her confidence cracked just a little, but she recovered quickly. She placed a hand on her stomach and gave the judge a sweet, innocent smile. "This baby is my husband's," she said, in a soft voice, her eyes flicking toward me as if daring me to deny it. I clenched my jaw but stayed silent. My lawyer, however, wasn't about to let this slide. "Your Honor," he said, standing up. "My client has been separated from Mrs. Rachel for several months. This claim requires proof." Rachel shot him a glare, then turned back to the judge. "We were still married when this baby was conceived," she insisted. "That means it's legally his." I could feel every eye in the courtroom on me waiting for my reaction, but inside, I was boiling with anger. She thought she could trap me with a pregnancy that wasn't even mine. I had been careful ever since I caught her cheating. There was no way this child was mine. The judge tapped his pen against the desk, his expression unreadable. "Then, a paternity test should settle this," he said simply. "Mr. Michael, do you contest the claim?" I stood up and looked Rachel dead in the eyes. "Absolutely," I said, my voice firm. "That baby is not mine." Rachel's smug expression faltered for the first time. "You can't just deny it," she snapped. "You have no proof." My lawyer smirked and pulled out a folder. "Actually, we do," he said. "Medical records show that Mr. Michael had a vasectomy a year ago. Your Honor, this baby cannot be his." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Rachel's face turned ghostly pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I watched as the reality of her mistake hit her full force. She had come in confident, sure that her pregnancy would secure her a massive payout. But now she was exposed in front of everyone. The judge adjusted his glasses. "Mrs. Rachel, do you have anything to say?" she stammered. "That's not possible. He never told me about a vasectomy." I crossed my arms. "Well, maybe if you weren't so busy sneaking around with other men, you would have known." The courtroom was dead silent. Rachel looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. But this was just the beginning. I wasn't done with her yet. Rachel looked like she had been struck by lightning. Her face went from pale to bright red in seconds. Her hands trembled on the table as she tried to think of a way out, but there was none. The entire courtroom was dead silent, waiting for her response. "I don't know what's going on," she finally stammered, forcing out a fake laugh. "Maybe there was a mistake? Maybe the procedure didn't work?" My lawyer didn't even try to hide his smirk. "That's not how vasectomies work, Mrs. Rachel," he said smoothly. "And if you're so confident, a DNA test will prove it." Rachel's confidence cracked completely this time. She gripped the edge of the table, her nails digging into the wood. "You're just doing this to humiliate me," she snapped. "This is unfair." The judge leaned forward, his face now serious. "Mrs. Rachel, I strongly advise you to be honest with this court. Is Mr. Michael the father of your child, or not?" Rachel's eyes darted around, as if looking for an escape. She was cornered. Every second that passed without an answer made her guilt more obvious. Finally, she exhaled sharply, and her entire body seemed to deflate. "No," she whispered, barely audible. "What was that?" the judge asked. Rachel's jaw clenched, and she repeated louder. "No, Hess, not the father." A few murmurs rippled through the courtroom, but I barely heard them. All I could focus on was the woman who had spent months trying to ruin me and had just destroyed herself instead. The judge nodded. "Then, this court sees no reason for Mr. Michael to be held responsible for child support." He turned to my lawyer. "We will proceed with the divorce settlement based on the original agreement." Rachel's head snapped up. "No, wait. But the judge cut her off. "Mrs. Rachel, you came into this courtroom attempting to manipulate legal proceedings. That will not be tolerated. If you continue this behavior, you may face further consequences." Rachel collapsed into her chair, her face blank with shock. This was the first time in her life that her lies hadn't saved her. But for me, this wasn't just about proving my innocence. It was about making sure she paid for everything she had done. And I wasn't done yet. Rachel sat frozen in her chair. Her hands gripped the table so tightly her knuckles turned white. The courtroom had gone completely silent. The judge's words had sealed her fate, but I knew Rachel too well. She wasn't the type to give up easily. She was still trying to find a way out, and I was ready for it, Your Honor," Rachel suddenly said, her voice shaking but still desperate. "I may have made a mistake, but I was still Michael's wife for years. I gave up my career for this marriage. I deserve something." I scoffed, shaking my head. This woman had no shame. Even after everything she had done, she was still trying to squeeze money out of me, but my lawyer was already flipping through his files. "Actually, Your Honor," he said, "Mrs. Rachel didn't give up her career. She was still working at her office when she started her affair, and she was using Mr. Michael's money to fund vacations and gifts for her boyfriend." Rachel's head snapped toward him. "That's not true," she spat, but I could see the panic in her eyes. "Oh, really?" my lawyer said, raising an eyebrow. "Because we have credit card statements showing multiple flights and hotel stays charged to Mr. Michael's account, and the timestamps coincide with messages she sent to her lover." Rachel's mouth fell open. She knew she was caught. But before she could say anything, the judge held up a hand. "That's enough. I've seen more than enough evidence to rule in this case." Rachel's breathing grew rapid, her body trembling. "Your Honor, please don't do this. I have nothing." The judge ignored her pleas and turned to me. "Mr. Michael, based on the evidence presented, this court finds no reason for you to pay alimony. All marital assets will be divided fairly, but Mrs. Rachel will not receive any spousal support." I smirked. This was exactly what I had wanted. Rachel had walked into this courtroom thinking she would leave with everything. But now she was walking away with nothing. Rachel's entire body slumped. She looked like she wanted to cry, scream, and throw something all at once. "This isn't fair," she whispered, but no one was listening anymore. The hearing was over, and she had lost. But I wasn't done watching her suffer just yet. Rachel sat there motionless. Her face had lost all color, her hands shaking as she realized she had lost everything. No payout, no support, nothing. She had walked into this courtroom believing she could manipulate the system to her advantage. But now she was exposed, humiliated, and completely powerless. But I wasn't done with her yet. As soon as the judge dismissed the case, I stood up feeling lighter than I had in months. My lawyer gave me a satisfied nod, but Rachel, she was still sitting there, staring blankly at the table, like she couldn't believe what had just happened. I grabbed my papers and started walking toward the exit, but before I could leave, I heard Rachel's voice behind me. "Michael," she called out, her tone desperate. "Please wait." I stopped but didn't turn around. I wanted to hear what nonsense she had to say. "Now, can we talk?" "Just for a minute," she pleaded, getting up from her seat and rushing toward me. I made a mistake." "Okay, shouldn't have lied, but we were good once. Can't we just try again? I let out a cold laugh and finally turned to face her. You think after everything you've done, I would even consider giving you another chance? I shook my head. Rachel, you destroyed our marriage. You lied, cheated, and tried to steal from me. And now that you've lost everything, you suddenly want to try again. Tears welled up in her eyes. I was scared. She sniffled. I thought I was going to be alone. I just wanted to make sure I was taken care of. I leaned in just enough so only she could hear me. And now you're going to get exactly what you deserve, I whispered. Nothing. Her lip trembled. But, Michael, where am I supposed to go? I don't have any money. My boyfriend? She stopped, suddenly realizing she had said too much. I smirked. Oh, you mean the guy you cheated on me with? I asked mockingly. The one you thought would take care of you. Her silence told me everything I needed to know. I chuckled. Let me guess. The moment he found out you weren't getting any money, he dumped you. Rachel bit her lip and looked away. I had hit the mark perfectly. You did this to yourself, Rachel, I said, stepping back. Now you get to live with the consequences. I turned away and walked out of the courtroom, leaving her standing there completely broken. For months, she had tried to ruin me, but in the end, she was the one who ended up destroying herself, and I had never felt more satisfied in my life. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in months. The weight of Rachel's betrayal, the stress, the endless lies, gone. She tried to trap me, but now she had nothing, but her suffering wasn't over. A few days later, my phone rang. Unknown number, I ignored it, but then I picked up. The voice on the other end made my blood run cold. Michael, we need to talk. It was him, the man she cheated with, the so-called love of her life, the father of the baby she tried to pin on me. I clenched my jaw. You've got a lot of nerve calling me. What do you want? He sighed. Look, I screwed up, but you need to know Rachel is losing it. She came to my place demanding I take care of her and the baby, but I never wanted this. I smirked. So you used her, just like she used me. Yeah, he admitted, and now she's trying to guilt trip me. She said she had it all planned, but now she's broke and desperate. She's saying it's my responsibility. I laughed. Guess she bet on the wrong man. She's getting crazy. He lowered his voice. She threatened to go to my wife and tell her everything if I don't help her. I raised an eyebrow. His wife. So he wasn't just some random guy. He was a married man. That explained a lot. She's a problem, he said, and she's about to make your life hell too. I leaned back thinking Rachel was spiraling. She wouldn't go down quietly. She was desperate. She was dangerous. But she had no idea. I still had one last move to make, and it was going to destroy her completely. Rachel was spiraling. She lost in court. She lost her so-called boyfriend. Now she had no money, no home, no plan. But knowing her, she wouldn't go down without trying to drag me with her, and I was ready. A week after the divorce, I got a message. Unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe near your old place. I knew it was her. Instead of blocking, I went. I wanted to see just how low she had fallen. When I arrived, she was already there, looking nothing like the woman in court. Her hair was a mess. Makeup, smudged, eyes hollow. But when she saw me, she forced a smile, like she still had control. Michael, I'm glad you came, she said softly. I wanted to apologize. I made mistakes, but I've changed. I folded my arms. Cut the act. What do you want? She hesitated, then sighed. I need help. I laughed. You spent months trying to ruin me, and now you need help. Tears welled up, fake as ever. I have nowhere to go. I thought we could start over for the baby. I raised an eyebrow. Your baby, not mine. Her hands shook. I know, but we were good once. We could be again. I know you still care. I leaned forward. Rachel, the only thing I care about is watching you suffer, like you tried to make me suffer. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I wasn't falling for it. She lied, cheated, used me. Now she was paying the price. I stood up, tossed some cash on the table. Here's enough for a cab. Don't ever contact me again. Her lip trembled. Michael, please. But I was already walking away, and I wasn't done yet. My final move was already in motion, a move that would make sure Rachel never recovered. Rachel thought she could manipulate me one last time, but she had no idea I was already 2 steps ahead. Her fake tears, her desperate act, none of it worked. But what she didn't know was that I had one final move to make sure she never recovered. After leaving the cafe, I made a call. Someone who had been waiting for this moment for a long time. His wife. The man she cheated with was married. His wife had no idea, but she was about to find out in the worst way possible. I sent her everything. Every message, every receipt, every disgusting detail of their affair, and just like I expected, it exploded. Rachel called me that night screaming, "You ruined my life?" She sobbed. "Why couldn't you just let it go?" I smirked. "You ruined your own life, Rachel. I just made sure you faced the consequences." The fallout was beautiful. The man she cheated with got kicked out of his house. His wife took everything Rachel had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. And the best part, her reputation was completely destroyed. She tried to get sympathy online, posting about how she was a victim, but no one believed her. The truth was out. She had burned every bridge, and now she was completely alone. As for me, I walked away free, rebuilding my life, without her lies, without her betrayal, and knowing she would never recover from this. And that's how my ex-wife's plan completely backfired. She thought she could manipulate me and win. But, in the end, she lost it all. Now she's alone, broke and drowning in regret, while I finally get to live my life free. What do you guys think? Did she get what she deserved? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insane stories. Like this one. I'll see you in the next one.